Ho buju, mishkwa nanga nishnabe no swin, Katrina Indishnakas, Bodwe Wadami, Oglala Lakota, Mina Odawa and Dao, Nadwa Zibaniak and Debadagwas, Migazi O and Dodam. Gutch.
Buju, I'm Wanda Indishnakas, and I'm called Mom. But we're taking a break from the farm. Kind of wanted to get a little insight as to Katrina's perspective on her journey to recovery, and a few ideas as to some tools and tips for other people who might be struggling. So a little history of where you were before and where you are now.
Mm-hmm. Well, before I get into like my own history, my relationship with alcohol specifically, I think back, when I think of alcohol now, when I just think of the word alcohol, I automatically think of, our ancestors, and when alcohol was first introduced by European colonists, and how they needed alcohol to take our culture. They needed alcohol to take our language. Without that tool, I don't think that they could have taken us, And even at that time, when alcohol was so devastating for our people for generations, it still is now in the same exact way. It's taking our culture, it's taking our language. During the times when I was drinking, I wasn't speaking my language. I wasn't involved with anything culture. I wasn't planting anything for sure. The more I drank, the further I was from culture, the further away I was from our language. And, because it takes your spirit, and we are spirits. We're spirits with a body. Yep. And the more you drink, the more holes there are in that spirit. And so being sober now, and I sit and I think about some of these things, and I know all the stories. I knew it before I took that first drink. And today I get still so angry on how devastating alcohol is. And I know me and my mom had talked about it, like alcohol is a thing. A thing like this chair is a thing, but it's almost like it's alive. Like it can kill, it can destroy, it can just take so much. And it's got all these tricks, The first thing, that it does that makes it hard to fight is it takes your mind, and if your mind is gone, your spirit is broken, how do you come up with a plan to fight, when those two things are gone? And it's like you really can't. You can't fight anything without your right state of mind, or your spirit all broken in pieces. You can't, there's nothing that you can really do productively, and that's how it wins. And I've noticed, not just, you hear all the stories about what happened to our people to begin with, and then we watch firsthand it continue to happen to our people. Watching my grandparents, drink and never able to teach or pass down any of that knowledge because they died still drinking. And that's another thing that just makes me so angry. It's one of the hardest things for me to even just say out loud is how painful that is to think of all the people who died and didn't get a chance to get sober.
Right, yeah.
And that could have been
trapped,
me,
basically.
Yeah. And that could have been me, but it's not. And I have a chance to change that ending, change what happens next. And when I say that could have been me, that literally could have been me. I was 100 pounds, and I was not doing good. And I remember a time when a doctor told me, you know, your kidneys are failing, you know, if you keep drinking, you're gonna die. And also, they wanted to figure out, you know, a place where that they could send me to detox me because they're worried about me dying from withdrawals. And leaving that appointment, like, if I keep drinking, I'm gonna die. If I stop drinking, I'm gonna die. I really put myself in the worst possible place. And that place was dark. That place was painful. And, you know, to come out of that, to tell somebody else what they need to do, I think that everybody's story is going to be individual. But for me, you know, every time, you know, I got more involved with the culture, volunteering out at the farm. I started off volunteering. I was out there all the time, you know, just pulling weeds and things like that. And healing, you know, every part of that is healing, especially, you know, for us. I think that, you know, we're so in tune and in touch and a part of Mother Earth that when I'm in a sweat lodge and I'm on that earth and I'm out at the garden and I'm in that dirt, you know, I'm connected in a way that nothing else could. You know, I've always had those spiritual holes, and for so long I tried to fill them with all kinds of different crazy things, alcohol being my favorite thing to try to fill it with, and that only just pushed me further away. And then once all of those things were stripped away, and I have an opportunity to try to start doing something different, I began by praying. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I think from that moment on, slowly but surely, things were just put in my path and I was being led. I wasn't really making decisions. Like, things were literally being put in my path and I was going with it. Learning to sew, I learned to sew and I really loved it. And I'm making regalia, I'm making ribbon skirts, and I'm finding purpose, you know, and that is healing me. Every little bit of that was healing me. And things are, do this, being thrown in my path, and I'm just going and doing it, you know. And looking back now, I know that when I was in that sweat lodge and I was praying for that, and I was praying for, you know, ancestors, they were there, and that's what those things were being thrown in my way, and I was just going with it, you know, and because why not? Like, all the decisions I was making before weren't working, you know, those never worked for me. And when you're on that right road and you're like in a zone and you know it, and when things try to knock you out of there or that aren't right for your spirit, you'll feel it and you'll know it. And so I'm following this road, I'm going along, and I see things changing, and I'm filling those holes more and more every day, all the different things. Working out, I don't smoke, trying to eat better, not drinking, just more and more getting rid of things and adding new things, and these things are just so healing. And for me personally, I don't know if, you know, this is true for everybody, but my solution, just being out there and planting things, there's so much medicine in that you just can't even explain it. I've never met a crazy plant person who's not happy. Anybody who's into plants is happy
Basically,
people. And, you know, that should say
There's
something.
positive energy out there that we get.
Yeah. And growing things is a spiritual thing. You know, we go, like us as gardeners or farmers, we can go through the motions of seeds, kind of knowing about the seeds because we have grown them in the past, knowing what we need to do, knowing what they need, and we can get that seed and we can bring it to the dirt, we can put it in the dirt, we can water that dirt, we can give it light, but we don't give it that life. You know, that's how this is spiritual. You know, and we pray for it. We pray before we plant things, and we pray when they come up and we thank them. You know, those are our plant relatives. And
we get amazed every time, right?
And we're obsessed with it. And you know, that's helped occupy my life and change my life in a really good way. And looking back over the years, I can see that, when I was growing things, when I'm building things, they give me a purpose. And in a way, like I don't have time for the other things that will get me in trouble.
Right.
Or, people, old friends trying to invite me out and to go hang out like we used to. And I'm like, who's going to water my plants?
I got to check on the chickens.
I got to go check on the chickens.
Yeah.
There's no way I'll be able to, get off of that. So
so yesterday we were at the farm, and you had mentioned how things kind of lined up exactly the way they're supposed to. We try to make plans, but sometimes those aren't the plans that are actually meant for us. And sometimes we got to give up trying to control where our life is going to go. And you had said that you're exactly where you need to be. So, and yeah, I fully agree with that. And even as you were going through all the trials, and I'm watching you, not knowing what to do, from a mom's perspective, trying to figure out how can I fix this, but also part of me was thinking she's got to go through this trial, and all we could do is actually be here for her. And it's painful to watch, but part of me feels like those that have gone through the deepest, darkest struggles, the hardest times, always end up being the most powerful leaders. And I really see that in you. I was just wondering at what point, because there's been a lot of ups and downs, at what point you realized, yep, I can get on the other side of the fence. I can get on that right road, that red road, and I can do this. What point clicked that made you realize that, this is I'm going to take a new path?
I wish I had something tangible that I could say that I just took these steps, but I know that there was a point where I knew that I was done. I missed my kids, and I knew I didn't want an old life back. I wanted a new life. I wanted something different, and I prayed, and then from then on, things had started to change, and that was the first step that I took. And then when, cutting off friends and, taking care of myself. So, even before my kids, having to take care of myself so that I can be present for my children, and because I wasn't before.
That's a good thing to hear from you in particular, because since you were really little, taking care of yourself was never your number one priority. You've always been putting everyone else, brothers, sisters, anyone else, you were always the problem solver, the one to jump in and make everything better, and you always came last. And I saw that in you, and I worried about that. So it's really satisfying to see you now being able to realize, yep, you do need to take care of yourself first. I think it's huge.
That means a lot. And when you're talking about watching me go through all those hard times, man, it was hard times. I'm in a lot of different recovery groups now, and there's people who wish that they've never drank before or didn't go through those, but me being an alcoholic is one thing that I am grateful for. And I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go back and not drink, because having to sit down, being away from my family, the place that alcohol put me, made me really, it changed me in a way that a normal life wouldn't.
Right.
Now I'm stronger. I appreciate everything so much more that I would never.
Right.
You know, the things that matter to me now are the things that really matter.
Right.
And the things that mattered to me before, they're just ridiculous to me now.
Right.
And I remember telling my mentor, who's known me for decades, that, wow, it's just crazy how much I've changed. And one of the things she said is, you know, you have not changed. You're exactly the same. You just got rid of everything that's not really you. Mm-hmm. And
Wow.
that's true. That's true. And once you get to that point where you feel like you're really you, you know, and you know you're getting closer to that spirit, then, you know, you're filling all them holes. You're filling those holes, and I'm content now, and I'm happy. You know, nothing is perfect, but I'm strong, and I'm content, I'm happy. I look forward to each day. I love my job. I love the relationship I have with my children, and I really feel proud to be their mom. I feel like, you know, I'm somebody that they can look up to, and
Yeah.
that wasn't always the case.
Yeah, and your nieces as well.
Yeah, them too.
Yeah, nieces, nephews. Yeah, it's
Those
it's
are my
huge.
kids too.
The difference now, as opposed to several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I always had faith. I always had, you know, in the back of my mind, one of the strongest kids I've known, and I always figured at some point she's really gone right now. And I was following you on Life 360 for a while, and you were all over the country. But I was watching, and I was thinking, sooner or later she's going to come back.
Yeah.
Sooner or later she's going to pull herself out of this. I just know Katrina. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, and just, you know, everybody who loves you just had to go through the roller coaster ride with you. But it's just still, it's so huge from a few years ago to now. And I feel extremely lucky, blessed, you know, that we watched you go through this journey. And I do, I get what you're saying about being thankful to be actually have gone through alcoholism, because at some point there's going to be other young Native boys and girls, even maybe our own nieces, nephews, grandkids, who are going to go through similar struggles, and it's going to be easier for you to relate, and it's going to be easier for you to be able to give them advice, and it's also going to be easier for them to accept that advice. Because, like, coming from me, well, you know, Grandma didn't drink, so how does she even know? She doesn't know what our struggles are. I mean, even though it was really difficult to go through that with you, I see the point. And then I'm thinking about what you said yesterday is we always end up where we're supposed to be for one reason or another. And it's like, right now it's like spring after a long winter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We went through all of this roller coaster, which was like, I was shattered for a long time, and I was just going through the motions because there was always something missing. But now that winter is over and it's spring now, you know, and I'm watching you with your kids, and I'm watching you with the nieces, and it's so exciting. It's beyond exciting. So.
So after talking about all of that, it just put a lot of thoughts in my mind. Even preparing for this, there's a lot of thoughts that went through my mind. I thought of my childhood. I had a good childhood. And I went through a lot, and I did a lot, and I did a lot to you. I remember mentioning that before, and you kind of dismissed, and were like, no, you were great, you were amazing, but I wasn't. And growing up, I know I put you through a lot, on top of all the other things that you have going on, and I just want to apologize.
Right. Well, I accept your apology for one, but I watched you since you were teensy, teensy tiny, and you've always amazed me. You've always been a leader. You've always took care of all your brothers and sisters. You were the one, always making things fun for them. Always the most popular, the independent one, So, I mean, parents are going to go through the ups and downs of their kids because they love them.
Yeah.
And you always see the positive before the negative. It's going to always be that way. With Naomi and Noden, you're going to always see the positive before the negative, And so really there's nothing to apologize for because it's your responsibility to be you,
I talked a little bit about what had helped me. That may not necessarily help everyone, but we want everybody to know that the culture department is always there for you. And for me, initially, I was hesitant with that because I felt like I would be judged. I know that a lot of people know that, I was out getting in trouble and all these other things, and I was nervous about reintegrating myself back into the tribal community because I was ashamed of a lot of the things that I've done and where I was at. Somehow I just did it though, and there was nothing to be afraid of. And if anybody feels like that, you can always come to me. Pretty sure I've been there and done that, and if the garden and all that isn't your thing, there's so many things that we do that can help you within the culture department. And there's also help.net, and then Traditional Healers, Marisha Keith.
Yep, there's, and like Katrina said, sometimes you might be a little apprehensive coming to anyone, but everyone here, and especially in the culture department, they've been down roads as well. They're extremely understanding and extremely easy to talk to and very knowledgeable. You can learn something from every member in culture, I think.
And we can keep putting one foot in front of the other and doing our things and our activities and staying sober, but it's not a win until all of us are. If anybody's struggling with, what I tell all my girls, if one of you are failing, all of us are failing. So make sure you're helping your cousins and your sisters. I tell all the girls that all the time. And that encourages them to help, and that's the way that it is. We're still not all the way a win if there's still people out there lost.
Right, absolutely.